The next section of our database management system in MySQL. The next section of our database management system for MySQL is going to be looking at aggregate functions. So we want to select our max salary, our min salary, and our average salary. So inside of here, we are going to put salary for this one, and salary for this one. And on the outside, we have our max, our min, and average. That's what's going to get this. Now our salary is from our employee, so we take this from our employee. Now we don't really need a where because there's no condition here because we're doing it for all employees. And if we were to chart this out, we would just basically take, like, if we had salaries like this, it would return like MX if we give it an alias. MX meaning max of 200K, MN being 10K, and then our average is 1005K. So that is how we would look at this. Note that some SQL implementations may not allow more than one function in the same select clause. The select clause is going to be right here, so we might not be able to have more than one of these in here, but I think our SQL that we have is allowing us to do this. So that's just something to note though if something doesn't work. It's a way to debug. Next we have find the maximum salary, minimum salary, and the average salary among employees who work for the restaurant department. So we want to select our max salary, the min salary, and then the average salary. So we are selecting all of these. That means they're going to be in our select. It's going to be from, well, these are all from our employee, and then from our department as well, because it's for who works in the research department. So we return the max, the min, and the average, and this is where our D number should equal to D no. And this is going off the chart that we've done previously. Basically, D number is a key in the department, and D no is the key, the foreign key relating to it in our employee. So these need to relate to each other right here. And if they relate to each other, we then check if the D name is equal to research, and this is our where. So that's going to be it for that example. The next one is where we're going over our count. So this is our min, max, and average. Our count is going to be when we retrieve the total number of employees in the company for this example. So this one's pretty simple. We want to retrieve everyone in our company. Well, we select from the employee, and it's the count, right? We want to see how many there are. Well, we just have count and an asterisk. And the reason why we have an asterisk is because we just select all of the columns we have, because the columns don't matter. We just want to see how many employees there are. So this returns the number of rows in the result of the query. So this returns like an integer, a number here. Let's say we want to do an example where we count a distinct salary and then we just count everyone's salary. So let's say we have this select count and then we pass in distinct salary. Well, it's from our employee class, they both are. If it's a distinct salary, it's going to count less than if we have multiple of the same salaries. So these are going to return less count than this count because this uses our distinct, which we've gone over previously. And this means that instead of returning a bag, which this typically does, we are going to return a set. And a set doesn't have any duplicates. That's what our distinct is. Next example is retrieve the number of employees in the research department. So this is from our employee and department. Our department name has to be research, and our D no has to be equal to our D number. We've gone over that previously up here. Our select, we want to retrieve the number of employees here. So if these are all true, we are just going to return count, and then we can pass in our asterisks right there. So that's our select. Next, we want to retrieve the names of all employees who have 2 or more dependents. So basically we want to query through our employees right here. So we have like E1, E2, E3, E4, so on and so forth. And if they have more than 2 dependents, we are going to output the first name and last name, otherwise no output. So we want to select the first name and last name. We are going to do an alias of this, so employee as E. That means we have E.first name and E.last name that we're selecting. And this is where we have our dependents being more than 1. So this is where the greater than 1 comes from, and we have to count our dependents inside of here. So we have our select, we have our count right here, so we can increment, we can have a number, return integer. We have from, dependent, and this should be as D. This is from our dependent as D, it's an alias, and then this is where, and then we need to connect these. So where our E.ssn is equal to our D.essn, and that's getting our from here to the from that's right here. So we're getting these two and we're linking them together. That's important when we want to retrieve all the names of our employees who have 1 or more dependents. We're basically making a comparison outside of this nested query. We could have more if we wanted to after this, like after this right here, we could have like and other things like that. We need to make sure that the outer and inner query is linked. We do this through our alias, right here and right here, like we were saying. Here's a note, we cannot use the count in the where. We don't want that, we can't. We can only use it in the select. That's why we have it right here. but we can return integer in our where because we're able to compare integers. We have one last example. It's a pretty big one. We want to retrieve each employee, the social security number, first name and last name, who has more than $3, and the salary of the employee is less than $60,000. So we want to retrieve all of this right here. So that's going to be in our select. We have our employee first name, our employee last name, and our employee social security number. It's all going to be right here. And this is from, so far we only have employee, so I'm only going to put employee as here. And the reason why we have the e's in front is because we are aliasing this as e. And the alias, again, is going to be important. We have some more down here. So we have like select. In our select, we have a lot inside of here. So the first one is the salary of our employee must be less than 60,000. So our e.salary must be less than 60,000 and has to have more than $3. So now we have to check the count of our daughter. So we're going to have our and right here. That's where we said we can have more than just one thing in there. We have our select. We want to count, so we're going to have our count inside of here. We next have our from. In our from, we are going to have the dependent as D because the daughters are the dependents. So that's going to be our dependents right there. Next we have our where, and our where is pretty long. So it's going to be both of these lines right here. Well, it's going to actually end right here. So in our where, we have to have our department ESSN equal to our ESSN. Inside of here, we have to have our dependent ESSN equal to our employee SSN. That way we know they're dependent to employee. That's how they're linked. And the D.dot relationship has to equal to daughter. We have to know that this person is a daughter because we don't want any like sons or anything. It has to be a daughter, and it has to all be greater than 3 once we return this integer. So that's how we would solve this problem. And that's our notes on aggregate functions. Next, we're going to look at more in grouping and so on. But those will be in the playlist linked below the like button.